Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. Proverbs 18:2. DC Tribe, Josh Thomas. Glad to have you. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Do Zone podcast on Apple and or Spotify. One quick reminder, this podcast is brought to you by Unbreakable Teams. We help entrepreneurs build the systems they need to crush their goals, the teams they need to execute those systems, and the accountability they need to make sure it all gets done. We are your fractional operations managers and strategic partners. If you're ready to take your business to the next level and you know you can't do it alone, go to unbreakableteams.com to learn more. I want to talk to you today about that quote. That quote was shared on Facebook by a friend of mine named Paul Beam. And he did not cite the quote, or I didn't see the citing, and I had to go and look it up. And it came from the Bible. Now, I'm not an avid reader of the Bible, but I certainly resonate with that particular quote. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. I've been in so many situations where that has been the case, and it has proven itself to be true. And it tells me that if this was written in a book that's more than 2,000 years old, probably humanity has always suffered from this, and humanity will always suffer from this. And so what I want to do, though, is I want to dig into this a little bit deeper. And I want to talk about something that one of my very first mentors shared recently about a man that he met. And this gentleman's name is Nate Brooks. Nate Brooks was my very first sales trainer. He taught me how to sell. I knew absolutely nothing. I couldn't get a job doing anything. And I call him up, and there's a sales job available. It was coming out of the 2008 crisis. Nobody was really offering jobs anywhere. I was looking for something to do. And Nate called me up. He said, "Well, hey, you should come and sell stuff." I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to sell anything." He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll teach you everything you need to know." And he has been and remains to this day one of the most influential men to ever enter my life. And I'm eternally grateful for him. And so anytime he is blown away by something somebody said, I take notice and I pay attention. And so, very successful guy. He's out and he's having a conversation with someone. And this gentleman, he did not name the gentleman, but he did mention that he's one of the most successful and wealthy persons that Nate has ever met. And Nate is a pretty successful guy by himself in his own right. So if he's saying that, this guy must be really serious. And they were having a conversation, and the gentleman looked at Nate, and said, "If what you know is not true, when would you want to know that?" I'll say that again. I'm going to let it sit. If what you know is not true, when would you want to know that? Now, that's a question, first of all, that's very complicated to even understand on the surface. But when you break it apart, when you dive into it, it kind of reveals everything. If what you know is not true, when would you want to know that? How can we apply that in our lives? How can we apply that to the initial quote from Proverbs? Fools do not seek to understand, but they delight in airing their own opinions. Do you actually want to know what the truth is, or do you want to remain a fool? And you know what? There's no right or wrong answer here. You don't have to know the answer. You don't have to understand. Nobody is forcing or obliging you to do that. In fact, this book, with 2,000 plus years of history since it's been written, tells you that humans have not figured out how to solve this problem, and they probably won't anytime soon. So the important thing about this, though, is you do have a choice. Do you want to understand, or do you want to remain a fool? Do you find pleasure in airing your opinion, or do you find pleasure in understanding? You can't really be both. Sure, there are exceptions for either one and all of that stuff, but you can't really be both. You have to pick one. I've been in situations where I have a difficult problem that I need solved. And I've had people bark out answers to me to these problems. But it's all very surface level tactical stuff usually. Hey, you should try this. Oh, have you tried this? Oh, well, you just got to do this. Airing their opinions. But what they didn't do, and hardly anybody was doing, is they were not seeking first to understand what the actual problem was. They were just trying to give an opinion about what the solution was without really clearly understanding. We must first seek to understand. Because if what you know is not true, when would you want to know that? If you have held a deep belief in something for your entire life, but that deep belief is categorically untrue, at what point would you like to be made aware of that?